Welcome into the channel. So happy to have you here always. My name is Deborah, owner of Purusha Holistic Wellness, and this is another episode of Purusha Intuitive, where we're going to look at the astrology for the upcoming week. Well, we're going to look at the energy of the upcoming week via the tarot astrology and any channeled messages that come through. So let's get into it. Thank you so much for being patient with me. If you showed up last night, I totally apologize. I had something come up that I needed to handle ASAP. So I just had to reschedule until tonight. But obviously I posted all that so you know, so you are well aware. But just know I really appreciate your flexibility always. We're in an interesting energy this week. Topically, as I've mentioned, there's not a lot going on throughout the whole month. It's kind of a nice way to wrap up the year. This week, however, things are going to pop up. And a lot of the stuff that's popping up is, well, I feel like number one, we have Neptune going direct. I've been talking a lot about this, especially check out, I have pretty much all the December readings up. I just have to do Pisces, so sorry. If that's your sign, it will be out tomorrow, I promise. But so Neptune goes direct, and it is going to bring this element of clarity, maybe clarity that we haven't really seen or felt in a while. It's been in retrograde. Neptune's been in retrograde in Pisces. And with that retrograde, it just can make certain things fuzzy, right? Like we don't have 100% clarity. The full moon in Gemini did bring some of this out. But as we kind of move through Sagittarius season, we're going to see some more of this stuff unfold as well. So we will see, like I said, Neptune's going to go direct. Well, we'll get into this. I'm going to start off with an energy cleansing just to set the tone, set the vibe for the reading, cleanse out any places we're feeling blocked or limited. It's a great time to set your own intention for the reading, especially if you have something on your heart, mind that you would like Spirit to answer questions around. Definitely give that over. Be open to receive. I'm also totally down to interact, engage, drop comments below. I will get back as soon as possible. Like I've mentioned in the past, I'm not quite ready to do personal questions, but we can talk about the energy, or if you need me to kind of clarify what I'm talking about, I would love to here. It is an open format here. All right, so I also do offer a variety of healing and wellness services, and readings are one of them. If you want me to look at your specific situation, how it's faring, where it's headed. I also do energy healing and Ayurvedic or holistic wellness consultations. If you're looking for a realignment of yourself, getting back in touch with yourself, being able to hear what your wants and needs are, etc. I would love to help. I would love to support in any way possible. All the info to get into contact with me is in the description box below. All right, let's get into it. I bless you with pure love and light, pure source energy, pure loving grace. I release anything that is not for your highest and best. Any fears, doubts, insecurities, lack of worth, lack of value, pain, anger, frustration, impatience, overwhelm. Cleanse it and release it from our being so it may see and understand the messages clearly and help to make me a clear and open channel for the collective. Thank you, Father God, Spirit guides, guardian angels, Mama Love. All right, let's get into it. I'm ready to go tonight. I feel this energy of not really knowing what's next. It's not like not an overall, but like I'm hearing like an immediacy. like something that's kind of going on in your environment right now. I was hearing you're on the edge of your seat. Like, what is going to happen next? That type of vibe. Because I think in some ways I'm hearing how you play things out is contingent upon that. It doesn't mean you don't have your own thoughts or your own opinions or your own ideas about how you should move forward. I feel like you feel strong this week. I like this. This is the energy of structure. It's the energy of balance. It feels fairly symmetrical, right? Just in terms of like when we're talking about stability and cohesion. And we're definitely going to need it this week because, as I mentioned, we have some fieriness in front of us. We're going to see this manifest a lot with Mercury entering into Sagittarius. This is going to naturally make communication a little bit more direct, assertive, potentially aggressive. Might not have a lot of empathy behind it, especially when feeling frustrated or like someone's not catching someone's drift, right? If people don't understand us, or if we're not understanding someone else, it can have a tendency towards that like fiery aggression I was talking about. It's also in conjunction, Mercury is also in conjunction with Black Moon Lilith. So I feel like with this Animus card, beginning of the week, it's asking us to just be very, I want to say diplomatic, but it's a little bit deeper than that. You know, yeah, there's benefit, value to diplomacy that I think is going to work in your favor, but you already kind of know that. You're already kind of in that vibe already. I like the Animus card because it reminds me a lot of the Empress in the Tarot, which is one of my favorite cards because she really does, not only is it divine feminine energy, which is beautiful and lovely and all the nice things, but it's a lot about connecting with our abundance and our empowerment, right? Like how we draw, how we're magnetic, how we attract things to ourselves. And I like this. I'm hearing like you're lighting your fire, you're lighting the way with that candle she has in her hand. It reminds me of a torch. It reminds me of you making conscious decisions to not, or at least in the beginning of the week, to not go down a path that you can't really get out of, but you know something's imminent. I can't remember who got this. I think that might have been Aquarius this week. Definitely check out the monthlies if you're interested. But it's something's inevitable. Something's happening. You know something's brewing in the background. We're getting conflict and oracle. And it just makes it all that more important for why this energy, sorry to be redundant, why this energy is important for you at the beginning of the week. I'm hearing it's like practice, right? Like you're just kind of living out of this vibe where you're choosing regardless of what's going on around you because there is some messiness. We'll talk about how this plays out in the astrology. Like I mentioned, we're seeing this a lot with Mercury moving into Sagittarius. And then end of the week, Mars enters into Capricorn. So I've been seeing this as Mars is how we, like our action potential, how we kind of move the needle forward in our life. And when it enters Capricorn, it is the willingness to put in hard work. Mars has been a little agitated lately because it has been tempered. It has been slowed down. And much to its dislike. I think that's why we're getting some of this combustion energy at the end of the week, but I'll get to that. So beginning of the week, sorry, my chart's moving a little slow. Life in slow motion over here. Beginning of the week, we're feeling the tension. We're seeing it. It's not as prominent though. And actually there's a lot more support. Like if we can, I don't know. There's a lot of different things we can do to kind of help the energy. But I'm seeing, like, for instance, with Uranus tensely aspected to Mercury, it's basically like if we can sense into situations and not be too extreme with our communication, with our interaction, it's going to get us further along. How I was talking though, with Mercury and Black Moon Lilith on top of each other, there might be a tendency to kind of want to push the envelope a little bit or see how much you can get. Again, I don't necessarily see that energy coming from you because you have a certain level of awareness this week. Excuse my voice. I'm trying. You have a certain level of awareness, and from that is coming strength. From that is coming confidence. All right, let's look at the tarot a little bit deeper. Okay, I like this. Ace of Wands. Something is inspiring you. So even though you do have some things up and running, right? You have this good foundation set for yourself. You're still kind of forward thinking with the Ace of Wands. What's next? What is going to add to your value, or how you're approaching situations? Going back to that energy that I was picking up, you being on the seat of your pants, or seat of your pants, right? The edge of your seat. I don't know where that came from. New moon, however, is in our blocked energy. So we've been seeing a lot of repeat patterns pop up. This is happening with Neptune and Saturn tensely aspected to Mars, to the Sun, to Venus. There's all this fight, this push-pull between what we want to do and what we should be doing. And Neptune and Saturn are in conjunction, so it's as much as it can be, thank you, Karen. That's so sweet. Thank you for all the support. I super appreciate you. Please know. With that Neptune and as much as our intuition can be a little bit fuzzy, or maybe sometimes we're second guessing ourselves, it's still important to consistently check in. Eventually you're going to get the right answer is basically what I'm getting at. Where when we kind of just throw caution to the wind and say F this and maybe make a rash decision, that's going to be where it comes back to bite us in the butt. Especially because it's so important to uncover what our intuition, what our instincts, our wants, and our needs are saying to us right now. And honestly, as I'm saying this, and even thank you, Karen, for your kind comment, just this value of how can we dive a little bit deeper into past patterns, right? There's always ways to grow, to evolve, to refine. I'm not saying to keep engaging in something that's done and over with. Obviously, it's very important to close the chapter, but we are seeing things pop up from the past. We still have, Neptune will go direct tomorrow, and then Jupiter and Uranus are still in retrograde, I think through the end of the year. So into next year. So something's coming up that we have to deal with. Something's coming up where there is an opportunity maybe for a fresh start. That's why it was coming through that way. I feel like you're going to weigh your options. With the Seven of Swords, it usually indicates that there's some type of ulterior motive. And the Ten of Swords is popping out as I say that, which Ten of Swords is repeated mistakes. It's backstabbing, it's betrayal. It does signify wisdom gained after struggle. But if we don't gain that wisdom, we launch ourselves right back into that quote unquote karmic pattern. So that's where it can be a little bit difficult. And for whatever reason, whether it is about learning and growth, or you just can't shake someone, something, etc., new beginnings aren't in sight this week. I was saying that as well. I can't remember what reading, but some reading recently. We are going to have some loose ends moving into the new year. So just kind of have that expectation, especially around the things that are either grasping, hanging on really tightly, or just very hard to get unstuck. So as we move to the middle of the week, that's where we're getting this oracle card. We're also seeing some of the tension begin to mount. Specifically with the sun and the moon. The death card has been popping up for us on the regular with the shorts, the daily energies, the daily card pulls, sorry. And it kind of goes back to like whatever is imminent. It looks like there is some tension. As I was saying, it just becomes messier. That's the best way to say it, because where we're seeing it is the sun and the moon specifically, and then just like all down the planets. It's pretty intense. Definitely check out a birth chart if you're into astrology. And so it really just, things start playing off of our emotions and our feelings. We have this cluster of planets moving into Sagittarius, so we become a little bit stronger. We become a little bit more hopeful around where we want change. We might even, I don't know that this is your energy. I'm going to clarify this a little bit more. 7 of Wands, resistance, seeing things from a different perspective. Someone's not liking the amount of change that's coming through. Maybe someone's expecting more change than what's actually going to happen or what you're on board with. Queen of Cups. So again, it's clarifying how important our intuition is for us, because let's look. I'm hearing like something might look one way on the surface. There's that 7 of Wands again. But there are other perspectives or other approaches coming in that also might be why the energy feels a little bit difficult to shake. Knight of Wands, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius energy. The Hermit is Virgo. So someone choosing to take a time out, someone who might see, not be able to see the different vantage points, because the Death card does feel like someone's trying to orchestrate how the change happens or how things evolve. And it might be through things just conversation, communication, or it might be these like kind of backhanded manipulations, things that you're seeing play out in the background. It is someone who's a little immature, however. Knight of Wands always just represents someone who doesn't really think things through, can be a little bit arrogant, a little rash. And I feel like that's it. What I'm hearing is it feels like it's someone who's putting out bait, i.e. whatever that background noise is, and then they retract. They go back, seeing what they can trigger and provoke. But where it counts, where it matters, you're dialed in. The only thing that might be a little bit difficult is we're seeing Venus tensely aspected to the North Node. The North Node is how we heal, it's how we grow, it's how we evolve. Venus is obviously the things that are like near and dear to our heart. And as I'm saying that, Ace of Cups, right? So especially when we have a soft spot for people, situations, it can be easy to give the benefit of the doubt because you see it for what it is. Because there is some desire for like happiness of home or some type of like stability that's present in this dynamic, in this situation, that I feel like ideally you want to maintain. Yeah, there we go. That's 6 of Pentacles. It's hard to do, but like I said, I feel like we're getting tripped up a little bit more around those places that our intuition is telling us to do it a little bit differently. Maybe even avoiding conflict. I don't think you can 100%, But I feel like it goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, where it's like, just be the better person. Maybe that's overly simplified, but when I'm talking about the better person, I'm just saying, like, stay strong within yourself, right? And what you think and what you feel, what you know is true. You know, obviously being open to conversation, discussion. I'm not really sure that it's happening with this individual, whomever, whatever you're dealing with. Because the Hermit can be self-reflective, but they're struggling to see other options. They're struggling to see other approaches. And that's where the clash is coming in. And I do feel your energy standing strong. Again, it's not really bringing a lot of newness into the dynamic. If anything, it feels like it might keep things on that auto loop, that hamster wheel, which can be annoying. And it looks like that's how we're ending the week, where there is that conflict, but it's the only way that's gonna help things move forward, is basically what it's saying, right? Like, sometimes in terms of energy, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because sometimes, especially if we've gotten into a rut in a dynamic that it's patterns over and over and over again, sometimes we need that shakeup, right? That snow globe effect, the shakeup of the energy, so we can hash it out, see what we have to work with and what's not available. And then it gives more clarity to move forward, right? And sometimes maybe things have been left unsaid. Maybe there's a lot of hidden thoughts, hidden ideas, hidden opinions that need to be put out on the table. It's also another thing. You'll know, depending on who and what you're dealing with. What I'll say is the Knight of Wands energy you can't really level with, right? Because they might not have enough experience, but they're still going to think they're better than you. There might be some promises, or it just ends up like making a situation last longer, you know? I don't know. It feels like it's falling a little bit flat at the end of our reading. Okay, Queen of Wands. So I see you, yes, continuing to chew. Okay, but you're also like dealing with someone else who has to like drop the BS too, is what it's showing. And now all these people are popping up. So we have the Queen of Wands, we have the Emperor, we have the Knight of Swords. These are people that are coming in to maybe lessen the burden, options on the table. There's a little bit more resistance with Venus that we're seeing, and Venus actually enters into Mars enters into Capricorn at the end of the week. So it looks like you have some people that are wanting your attention. It looks like you have some people that are maybe trying to let go of some of the BS. There's a lot of stress involved in this situation, whatever this is, and that's probably why there's a lot of conflict. If there's not like straight up arguments and fights between one another, then there's definitely like conflict within yourself around how to move forward. Because it's weird. There's just like all this tension, all this buildup, and then it's like, okay, let's just Six of Swords energy, like everything's fine and calm and peaceful. But it's not really presenting that way. And even though it's stressful because you do have to push forward. Yes, the tension lessens as we move through the week. But it's very much contingent on how like strong you stay in yourself, right? How grounded you stay in yourself, how you manage these situations. Because you might have someone or something that is trying to provoke the energy. Oh, let me pull one more, sorry. And then I'm going to close it out. I think I'm starting to... there's still a lot up in the air. Like, as much as I see, it's like I see people like lingering around you, talking, gossiping. What should we do with collective? You know, there's just like a lot of background noise, a lot of background chatter. I don't necessarily see you in the middle of this. I feel like you're kind of in it at the most pivotal points when someone wants to bring you in. There is some like dipping and dodging that you're going to have to do this week. And also knowing when to just like let it be, right? Like sometimes some people really need to be right. And we're not going to get away with that right now, especially in Sagittarius season, because Sagittarian energy is that like, I know what's best, right? And so, and it can be very fixed in its ideas, in its opinion. It's fire energy. And the places that we're getting annoyed or the places that we don't really want to sit around and wait are becoming very, very apparent. You know, they're hard to avoid. I'm just going to close it out with one oracle tonight just because of my voice. I am continuing to read out of the Materia Prima. I love this deck. It's so beautiful. It is all the it's the periodic table of elements. I keep like feeling like I'm saying that really weird. I should probably look it up before I come on camera. Okay, let's look. So we got helium. Okay. Traversing the invisible from primordial time to when time began, helium, a floating souling energy, entered the world on a sunbeam with the direct spiritual need for abundance, born from the mighty goddess hydrogen. On their long, slow journey together, hydrogen and helium birthed oceans of celestial plasma, a lonely mother and son transmuting into lovers, populating the cosmos, and then the earth with their inner becomings, life. It symbolizes offspring, union, increasing, create, solar. So I kind of feel like your energy is on the creation aspect of that, right? Like you might be kind of navigating the cosmos right now of all these difficult, but different things is what I was trying to say. And they probably are difficult, like, you know, and that's why it can be so defeating, because we think we're putting in time, energy to something that's going to grow and become more prosperous, and then we get thrown back a few steps. That energy's been coming up a lot in the collective. We're being reminded of the things that might be a little bit uncomfortable, but what I love about your energy this week is you're really pushing forward in an empowered way, right? Like I know I say that, I know that's kind of an ambiguous phrase, but really what I'm meaning is like you're standing in your power. You're not letting old things that used to trigger, things that used to sway you, you're not letting that do so anymore. And from that, you're allowing yourself more options, more opportunities. And I feel like that's where your power is. That's why you're not getting sucked into some of this conflict. You're able to stay on the outskirts long enough so it's not pulling on your energy as it once did. Yeah, you might still have to deal with BS that you really don't want to deal with, but I don't know. It's just the nature of the astrology right now. It's really forcing us to get clear on how we want Pluto in Aquarius to look in our lives. We have an opportunity to become more connected to ourselves in a unique way, in an inventive way, a creative way, an empowered way. But we're hanging in this balance of like what we know, what feels comfortable, what feels safe, versus like kind of branching out into the new. So yes, a lot of this reading is about, I feel like it's reminding you your strength, reminding you where you're at, where you've come from, and where you're headed, you know, and it feels like as much as there's a lot of noise in the background, like I said, you're actually moving forward in a way that like feels inspiring to yourself. I love this. So enjoy the energy this week. I hope you had enjoyed the reading. I hope you found messages that resonated for you here. Thank you so much for your time, energy always. I super appreciate you. All the love, all the support to the channel. No, it blesses my heart. Thank you so much, Karen, for all the love. I appreciate you so much. I hope that you have a fabulous week. Know that I'm sending all the love and blessings your way. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great night. Oop, nope.